Hello, welcome to this session. This is focusing on project-based learning and authentic learning experiences. What we're looking at is the starter template for generating an authentic learning experience idea. And this template is a Google Doc that you can get access to. First, let's kind of see what it looks like. You can see all the parts to it. The first thing you want to do is click Make a Copy. So you have your own copy. So it comes here, you make a copy. Once you have your copy, we're going to make this bigger. You're ready to start to use this document. So what you're going to do here, the intent is to think through what your focus is going to be for an authentic audience and purpose that's going to engage students into the content so that the content you're teaching, students will see the purpose and value for its use in the world beyond school. So they have contextual connections and understanding the curriculum and how it's being used in the world outside of school. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the first part of the form with my name and then the grades and subject that I'll be teaching. And once I do that, what's going to happen is it's going to complete these steps. I'm going to show you an example afterwards so you can see how these steps actually work. With the first step, which is just progressive to understanding what's important. The first two steps is really about the curriculum. What are the curriculum outcomes or standards? However you would prefer to look at that. You would complete this section with those standards. You would then follow with the skills. Here's an example. This is going to be a focus on writing and informational reading with the core curriculum outcomes and our standards that it's going to address. So those are the big ideas within the curriculum. And then task two is breaking that down and saying, well, what are the actual skills and concepts that I'm going to be focusing on? It's really important that we have the two steps done first because we want to make sure that what the students are going to experience is going to align with what they need to build understanding and build expertise with, to grow towards mastery, to progress in their skill sets. Once we have this, now we get into the authentic learning experience part that enriches those collection of lessons or makes a project-based learning unit something from average to something that's powerful in experience for students. Now we're going to look at task three. This is where we begin to unpack the authentic learning experience. We want to look at the purpose. The question that you want to ask yourself is, if students truly understand and develop these skill sets listed in response to for task two, how can they use those skills to support a target audience that's beyond the school grounds? This is about writing to inform and to, hopefully influence others, as well as to use good research for evidence to collect good details that can support the point of view that they want to present. There's lots of ways we can go, and considering that, looking at what's going on in the world today and the community, then perhaps one place we can look at has to do with the flu season or a pandemic. The way we do this is that we have to decide, are we going to focus on raise awareness, edutain, advocate, or solve a problem? To give you clarity about what those mean, then what you can do is, if you click this link that says authentic purpose, it takes you to an article that I wrote about this topic in Edutopia that explains three of those areas, which are raise awareness, advocate, and solve a problem. Edutain is a form of raise awareness where, like the Science Channel or the Discovery Channel, where they take informational ideas and they present them and teach them in a way to a public audience that is engaging and entertaining. So we can look at raise awareness, which is about informing a group like the community about best ways to combat against a flu season. We could do it in an entertaining way, so it still be raising awareness or informing, but through edutainment. We can advocate where we try to convince others to take action around how to best protect oneself and therefore the community from a flu virus season or any other pandemic. Or we can find solutions to a problem and try to solve that problem. These are different choices, and the article will help you think through that. So in our case, we're choosing advocate. We're going to have the students provide practical solutions for the best ways to keep family communities safe during a flu season or pandemic. We'll let the students choose between the focus of flu season, or if they want to choose no focus on a pandemic. That would be what they'll get to pick. I've just structured where the focus is. So if we're going to advocate, who are we advocating to? And that's where we get to task 4. So now we know what our purpose is, what we're trying to do for a target audience. Who is that target audience that we are trying to inform? So in our case, the target audience we're trying to form is really the community, but we're going to include family members so that it adds a more personal touch of people that students know outside of school. We're going to also emphasize community because we want those people who maybe they don't know well, but they know that they're going to impact, and that kind of raises their level of attention to detail when they do this work because they're focused on these different groups. So in this case, you can see we say family community would benefit from a clear and concrete suggested steps for staying well based on practices, research from reputable experts, and based on a review of research and articles by experts in the relevant field, students will compose an article or recorded presentation that informs the audience of their suggestions. This planning template really helps us lead there because the whole focus is around how to use informational writing as well as use of good details based upon author craft to explain their point of view. They're going to be practicing the skills that we identified first, that this was most important that they do. And then we've identified now their purpose for how they're going to use those skills and who their target audience is going to be. So now we're going to move on to our next step, which is how we're going to make the work public, how we're going to publish their work. That's really important because students can't just do the work and then turn it into their teacher because then it's not real, it's not authentic, and the students will know that and they won't pay as much attention to the details and the skills and concepts that we want them to do. Response to 5 then is this option for final products, which depends upon which direction students take. Do they want to write an article that's going to be published in the classroom blog? Do they want to do a presentation that's going to require them to script and practice what they're going to say so we can still pay attention to the details that they're using? This presentation would also then be recorded so that the recording could be on the classroom blog as well as placed on a YouTube channel, which could be part of the ELA department and or it could be on a school YouTube channel depending upon what your guidelines are for posting student work. We're going to give the students an option that if they don't want to do a presentation, they can make some other production like using Powtoons, which will allow them to create a different type of slide deck presentation that they would then record, which would go on the ELA department or the school YouTube channel. So that's our intent. So we're going to make this public. Now I have 3 options here that I feel comfortable that I can assess in the same way. And that's what's really important, that I can still assess those core skills, because we always go back to the core skills that students have to demonstrate. And if you looked at this, if you were going to do this and you said, I don't see how I could do the last option, then don't give them that option. Just give them the first 2 options. Or maybe you don't want to give the option of a recording of a presentation. You just want them to do articles and go on the blog. That's fine too. You could do that. Or maybe you're not comfortable yet with a blog. So you may put the files into a cloud-based folder, such as in Google Drive or OneDrive, and then you link that out to a classroom or school website. So there's a lot of ways that you can do this, from low-end production to high production. Okay, so we've got the publication, and our next step is we need to write a description. because this is a description that kind of brings the narrative together of what they're going to do that we're going to be selling them on. Here is the response to task 6. Every year, the flu season can have a disruptive impact on the lives of our community. Many people become sick and unable to work and live active lives. Like a pandemic, lack of proper health precautions can extend and complicate many lives as those infected spread the virus to others. Meanwhile, healthy people who do not practice good practices either get sick or become carriers of the disease, bringing it to family and friends. The students will research and consider effective ways to combat viral infections with the goal of reducing the flu season and/or pandemic by educating the community. Students will have choices from several mediums to communicate their findings and proposals to their family and community. Through the process, they will increase their writing skills with contextual application and authentic practice. So that's the focus. This is the description that I can then use when I create my call to action. This could be part of that to get them excited, to get them really interested, to see the value and purpose of what they're focused on in terms of meeting the needs of their community. Meanwhile, throughout all of this, I am ensuring that they are focused on addressing these skills because they are going to need these skills, these tools, in order to be effective in their drive, their call to action to meet this need for their community. What remains is creating a driving question. And again, you'll see here there are links here that I can click and I can learn more about driving questions. And this will help me to frame that if I need that guidance. In our case, the driving question will be, how can we rally the community around powerful solutions for defeating the flu season? So students are going to have to research and collect ideas for solutions to helping reduce the flu season or a pandemic that a community would respond to or should respond to. And then they have to craft their message in a way that would be receptive to the community, because that's their target audience, when they present their ideas. This is the start of a potentially great PBL unit that could be very engaging. However, I could still do something like this in a 3-day authentic piece that might have fewer parts to it. In this case, though, the intent here is that this would be a PBL unit that would run from 2 to 4 weeks, just depending upon how I want to focus on this and how in depth I want my students to be engaged into the work. That completes the explanation of this process. Just know that if you click this link, review an example, you'll see this exact document filled in as a model for your work. Thank you again for watching this video about how to get started with generating an authentic learning experience.